For the first time ever, I've got my hands on the brand new Ford Mustang Mach-E. And for the first time in 55 years, the Mustang family is expanding. To Ford, Mustang means freedom, performance, and progress. And this is the evolution of the Mustang. Here's the plan of action then. I've got this car for a week, and today we're going to take it on a road trip, and then later on in the week I'm going to bring it back into London to Car Spot to see whether it can keep up with the supercars. But today I'm going to be planning my route on this 15.5-inch touchscreen. I can get real-time traffic, construction on roads, weather, and all of the EV charging information that I need. We start in London, where there is an abundance of rapid charges, where I can get 80% range in 45 minutes, which is a stark contrast to some of the EV experiences that I've had in the past. And the network is just getting better. 120,000 charge points and growing. And basically, whilst it's charging, I'm gonna use this to get out to Diddley Scott Farm, Europe's and definitely UK's most famous farm, Jeremy Clarkson's farm. And we're going to be taking the Mustang Mach-E out to the Cotswolds. The weather is perfect, and it gives me the perfect opportunity to give you guys my first impressions on Ford's first full electric vehicle. Whilst I set the route up so that we can head west and out of London, let me rattle through the tech specs on this car in particular that we're driving. It's the extended range all-wheel drive Mustang Mach-E, which means that it's 351 PS, 580 Newton meters of torque, 0 to 62 takes 5.8 seconds, and it has a range of 335. At the moment we're at 82% and charging, and it's saying that we've got 210 miles. But everything that you see inside and out is standard on the all-wheel drive extended range, from the 10-speaker B&O sound system with this incredible dashboard soundbar, panoramic roof, heated steering wheel, heated front seats, front and rear parking sensors, 360-degree camera angle as well. Everything is standard. The only thing that was an optional extra on this car is the infinite blue paint color. So the whole cost of this car is £57,980, but that includes everything. Right, I think we can take this car off charge and head, because we've got plenty of miles. My instant first impressions of driving the Mach-E is it's weirdly cool, but weird being the operative word, because you've never experienced a silent and tranquil experience from a Ford before in this manner. Because from an exterior perspective, I think it's one of the best looking cars Ford have produced in the last 5 years. I think the front end looks super aggressive, the rear haunched up, and those shoulders from a rear three-quarter is where I find it the most appealing. And the side angle and the side profile is very clever. You'll see an element of where they've taken a two-tone roofline to give it a more swooping coupe feel, even though inside it's incredibly spacious. But my favorite part already is the silence, especially in central London when there's so much going on around you. To be sat here and talking to you in complete silence, not an engine in my ears, is a really luxurious feel that you've never had before. But when the cameras turn off, and what we can't really show you is the B&O soundbar. This soundbar that stretches across the entire dash is one of the best sound systems I've ever heard from a car, and I think it is combined from the pure silence that you get. My first impressions of driving this around is it feels like a car. And I know that sounds weird, but EVs and manufacturers always try and move cars away from what a car should feel like, so that you feel like you're driving something different when you purchase an EV. But Ford have managed to balance it perfectly between it feeling like an EV and looking slightly different to how you would expect a Ford to look. Now that we've skipped out of London and come out to the Cotswolds west of the city, the car comes into its own in a completely different way. This car has a real split personality. I've got the car now in untamed mode, which is a performance focused mode. It comes with 3 modes, this car. You've got active, which is its default setting, whisper mode, which is more about efficiency and economy driving, which I do like in London. But then out here, when the roads are a little bit more open, the traffic is less, you can really push on, drive a little bit more spirited, which this car is more than capable of doing. In London, the low speed firm ride out here becomes a responsive and engaging drive that at speed, with a little bit of audio down here when you put your foot down, I feel like I'm in like a spaceship or something, and the acceleration is swift. It's not tear your face off like a lot of other electric cars, but with that, the novelty wears off quite fast and you get that sick feeling in your stomach. This is progressive, a linear acceleration that works on the motorways. When I was talking about this having a split personality, it's when you're out on the country road, it feels like you're driving a sports car, but on the motorways, you're driving a comfy GT car that irons out the imperfections in the road. It's a really smooth ride. Jesus, the front end turning is pretty damn direct. And I never imagined hooning a 2-ton EV through the Cotswolds roads. But if it's gonna be an EV, it needs to have the Mustang name, because it properly lives up to the sports coupe nature of the car. Still got over 110 miles. It's less than 70 miles back home. We have just cruised our way, had it in untamed, and enjoyed the drive, and not really had to think about charging it at all. But I think we're coming up here, so I'll just kind of cancel the nav. Here we go. Diddley Squat Farm Shop. Well, there's one car here. That looks shut, doesn't it?
Yeah, that looks close to me. What did you put on the sat nav?
Oh, I just typed in Chipping Norton.
If you put Tiddley Squat, I probably would have told you it was closed.
Yeah, the open sign's off. There's one car there. This is deserted. We are in the correct place, and it opens at 9:30 tomorrow. I had the whole day planned out. I was like, that is where we're going to go. I've never been here before. To be honest, there's not much to see. And I don't know whether that's because it's closed, but the building is tiny. It's a huge car park over there, which I'm assuming is when it's super busy, people park over there. But if that's it, bit of a fail. I mean, it's not saying anything that the car is smarter than me, but what an amazing day. My first day, first 24 hours with this car, and as first impressions go, it slots really nicely into the timeline of things that I've experienced with Ford, starting with the GT, going through the Focus RS with Ken Block, and now my first experience with the Mach-E has been a proper adventure. We started in London, took advantage of the rapid charging, enjoyed all sorts of various roads, and actually Ford have bridged the gap perfectly with providing an electric car that you can use on a daily basis and not feel like range anxiety exists in your brain. But then you can come out onto country roads like this and really become a petrol head and fall in love with driving. And that is something that I've not experienced in an EV before. And for full transparency, I drove from Hertfordshire into London at around 82%. So I probably could have done the entire day without charging the car, which is really saying something. We're going to jump back in this car and drive all the way back to Hertfordshire. If we get stuck in traffic, it's not even going to be a problem. So to have all of the standard equipment inside the car, all of the creature comforts, to have a car that looks this cool and this aggressive on the road and have so much road presence. Okay, the colour's not necessarily for me, but I think if I was to have a rapid charge point at home, I would have an all black one of these in a heartbeat. There is no denying that it is a good looking car inside and out. And the journey doesn't stop there, because I'm going to be taking the Mach-E into central London and hunting down some supercars to see whether this is the ultimate car to go supercar hunting in. But then Ford have promised me the Mach-E GT, which is the performance version of this. And if this is anything to go by on these country roads, then that is going to be an absolute monster. But I'll leave it there, guys. Thank you very much for joining me on this adventure. And I don't think it matters that Diddley Squat Farm is shut. I think it's better that there's no one here, because that looks amazing in front of that. I'll see you soon, guys. Take care. Goodbye.